They were all A-list stars, but that kind of love, they dared not admit it, not even once, because it happened between men in an era when such feelings could destroy careers, reputations, and lives with a single whispered rumor. In 1969, Hollywood was shaken by devastating news. A glass explosion during filming had sent shards piercing Jeffrey Hunter's skull, causing the brain hemorrhage that would claim his life at just 42. But what stunned those closest to him wasn't his tragic death. It was what his widow discovered while cleaning out his belongings. Hidden beneath floorboards in his study lay a wooden box containing handwritten pages titled, "The Men I Didn't Dare to Love." Inside were names that would have rocked Hollywood to its core. Detailed accounts of secret affairs, stolen moments in darkened hotel rooms, and passionate relationships that had to remain forever hidden from the world's gaze. The list contained some of the most powerful figures in entertainment. Men whose public personas were built on carefully constructed lies, whose marriages were elaborate facades, whose every public appearance was choreographed to conceal the truth burning within them. Tonight we unveil the contents of that devastating list and explore the hidden world of forbidden love that existed beneath Hollywood's golden surface. This is the story of Jeffrey Hunter's secret passions and the men who shared his dangerous game of concealment. Subscribe to discover the shocking truth about old Hollywood's best-kept secrets, because some stories are too explosive to remain buried forever. Jeffrey Hunter, the man behind the mask. Jeffrey Hunter had always stood apart, carrying secrets behind his ocean blue eyes. In 1950, Hollywood recognized raw talent, and 20th Century Fox offered him a lucrative contract. In 1961, Hunter portrayed Jesus Christ in King of Kings, a role that would define and limit his career forever. The film became legendary, but Hollywood typecast him as the holy man. A-list productions closed their doors, pushing him toward B-movies and cheap European projects. In 1965, hope flickered when he was cast as Captain Pike in Star Trek's pilot, but his wife opposed the project. Studio executive Oscar Katz recalled, "We kept raising offers, he kept refusing. Finally, I said, 'Tell Jeffrey Hunter to get lost.'" The role went to William Shatner, who became legendary while Hunter faded into obscurity. But the greatest shock was yet to come. According to close friends, Hunter lived two completely different lives. On screen, he was the heroic leading man. Behind curtains, he carried explosive secrets, clandestine relationships with A-list stars, forbidden affairs hidden from media scrutiny. His handwritten list, discovered after death, revealed the full extent of his hidden emotional life. A catalog of dangerous relationships that illuminated the suffocating world of closeted stars in Hollywood's golden age. Anthony Perkins, love shattered by ambition, the first name on the list. Summer 1956, at a Chateau Marmont party, hosted by director Nicholas Ray, Jeffrey Hunter met Anthony Perkins for the first time, a moment that would haunt both men forever. "I was by the pool when Venetia Stevenson whispered, 'You should meet Tony,'" Hunter later recalled. Perkins, already a Golden Globe winner, carried profound loneliness despite his rising stardom. "He looked so terribly alone," Hunter remembered. "That drew me toward him." Their love unfolded through stolen glances, brief hand touches beneath tables, and hurried notes hidden in suit pockets. They sat in darkened rooms, afraid to turn on lights, listening to classical music from old radios. "I placed my hand on his for a fleeting moment, but my heart pounded so wildly I had to pull away," Hunter wrote. "1 second longer and police would arrest us like criminals." They dated starlets publicly, posed for photographs, walked red carpets hand in hand, only to return to each other once stage lights dimmed. But Perkins was under Paramount contract while Hunter belonged to Warner Brothers. Paramount executives coldly warned, "Don't ever see that man again." With burning ambition, Perkins began drifting away. The end came in 1957 when Hunter auditioned for Fear Strikes Out, a role he'd performed brilliantly on television. Paramount gave the role to Perkins instead. Hunter drove frantically to Perkins's house. "You know this role was mine," he shouted. "You held me and said I was extraordinary." Perkins replied coldly, "This is business, Jeff. I didn't have a choice." A punch flew. Hunter struck Perkins, sending him into the wall. They parted forever, their love destroyed by the very industry that brought them together. In 1992, Perkins died of AIDS with secrets intact. "We could have been legendary," Hunter confessed in his writings, but Hollywood would never allow it. Tab Hunter. Two prisoners sharing a key. Forbidden desire in the shadows. We were like two prisoners handing each other the key, but deep down we both knew there would never be an escape. Hunter wrote about his affair with Tab Hunter, two A-listers sharing more than just a surname. Both possessed mesmerizing blue eyes and all-American boy faces. Audiences confused them constantly. Both had Warner Brothers contracts and were confined to romantic leading man roles designed to make women swoon. Jeffrey slipped away from his wife while Tab returned from staged dates with Natalie Wood, publicity designed to prove heterosexual credentials. In bourbon-soaked hotel rooms, they stripped away every pretense. Tab became wild and unguarded in Jeffrey's arms, clawing and weeping as if desperate to tear apart the dream lover persona Hollywood forced him to wear. Jeffrey found in Tab's embrace raw earthiness he'd never experienced. "You are the only sin that makes me feel alive," Jeffrey whispered hoarsely, thick with alcohol, an admission haunting him forever. By 1955, Confidential magazine obtained photographs of Tab at a gay party. Jeffrey held him through the night in a hotel bathroom, watching Tab shake and vomit from panic. "I can't breathe anymore," Tab screamed, fingers digging into Jeffrey's chest until they bled. "They've turned me into a puppet forced to pretend I love women." Warner Brothers initially protected their investment, but when Tab's popularity faded, they coldly sold him to Columbia Pictures like discarding a liability. The night Tab received this news, he appeared at Jeffrey's house with swollen, tear-reddened eyes. Jeffrey could only hold him, unable to offer promises. He had a wife, children, perfect family life, a gilded cage he couldn't break. Their final scene played in Jeffrey's driveway. Tab begged him to run away together, abandon their careers for somewhere they could love openly. But Jeffrey turned away, refusing to look back because meeting those anguished eyes would make leaving impossible. He returned to the domestic facade, smiling for cameras while inside. Part of his soul died. Their love became another casualty of an industry demanding impossible choices between love and survival. Rock Hudson. Dangerous comfort. When two broken men found each other. During Jeffrey's bitter divorce from Barbara Rush in 1956, he entered his most emotionally complex relationship, a brief but intense affair with Rock Hudson that nearly destroyed his carefully constructed public image. Cruelly, Barbara became the accidental witness to their most intimate moment. One late night, Rock arrived at Jeffrey's apartment during divorce proceedings. Barbara had come to collect belongings for their son Christopher and found a devastating scene. The man who portrayed Jesus sat silently in dim light, hollow-faced with bloodshot eyes from drinking. A half-empty whiskey bottle and scattered sleeping pills revealed his deteriorating mental state. When Rock knocked, Jeffrey didn't turn until that deep, familiar voice spoke his name. Rock stood in the doorway, eyes filled with sorrow at Jeffrey's pitiful condition. Without words, Rock pulled Jeffrey into his arms, holding him tightly as if squeezing every ounce of pain away. "I can't let you destroy yourself," Rock whispered, voice breaking. Jeffrey buried his head against Rock's shoulder, tears streaming. In those arms, he became fragile and small, finding momentary sanctuary from crushing weight of secrets. But that moment of comfort became the spark, igniting the next tragedy. The door burst open. Barbara stood there, face pale with shock. "I knew you had problems," she screamed, mixing rage with unbearable hurt. "But I never imagined you'd dare do something this disgusting where your son might see." Rock stayed by Jeffrey's side for months afterward, comforting him through the crisis. Yet their relationship lasted only 6 more months. Rock couldn't bear watching Jeffrey spiral deeper into self-destructive behavior. Their affair seemed to intensify rather than heal. When Rock finally left, he abandoned Jeffrey to seemingly impossible loneliness. A few years later, Jeffrey remarried amid applause and cheers. But somewhere on the edge of that joyous crowd, Rock Hudson stood quietly watching from a distance, heart weighed down by sorrow he could never erase. James Dean, the flame that burned too bright, unfinished love, cut short by fate. James Dean and Jeffrey Hunter never became lovers, yet every time Dean's name was mentioned, Jeffrey's eyes would cloud with indescribable melancholy, as if there were an unfinished chapter, a story cut short by fate's cruel intervention. They met at a Los Angeles play reading in 1954. Jeffrey was already a 20th Century Fox rising star, while Dean had just stepped out of obscurity, restless like a caged animal testing boundaries. "He looked like a storm trapped inside a human body," Jeffrey would later write. From that moment, odd tension sparked between them. Dean smoked constantly, his gaze darting toward Jeffrey with unmistakable challenge, as if saying, "You think you understand Hollywood's game? I'll tear it apart my way." Jeffrey smiled outwardly, but trembled inside. He recognized something both attractive and terrifying. Absolute freedom, rebellion without disguise. Months later, they crossed paths at bars, gatherings, and Warner Brothers script readings. Their conversations were brief, but charged with unspoken electricity neither dared acknowledge. At a Santa Monica cafe, Dean suddenly looked directly into Jeffrey's eyes. "You look like a saint, Jeff, and me? I'm nothing but a sinner." Jeffrey remained silent, responding only with the faintest touch on Dean's smoke-stained hand. A gesture so brief it might have been accidental. Yet both knew its significance. But Dean pulled back, eyes blazing with intensity. "Don't fall in love with me. I was born to die young." The prophecy proved tragically accurate. In September 1955, news of James Dean's fatal Porsche crash shocked Hollywood. Jeffrey, filming in Europe, quietly slipped away from a dinner party to his hotel room. Eyes red from tears, he whispered to a close friend, "He never really belonged to this world, but I wished I could have had just one more day with him." Later, when Dean's name surfaced, Jeffrey would simply nod, voice breaking. James was a flame, too bright, too fast, and no one could hold on to it. But privately, he knew it was more than admiration. It had been a feeling that never had a chance to bloom, love that lived only in fleeting glances and unfinished words. For Jeffrey Hunter, James Dean would forever remain a haunting shadow, a flame so beautiful it was cruel, leaving behind a void no other relationship could fill. Sal Mineo, the beautiful doomed rebel desire mixed with self-loathing. Sal Mineo, the young rebel without a cause star, was nearly 10 years younger than Jeffrey, carrying magnetism both haunting and melancholy. They met at a 1962 Los Angeles charity fundraiser when Jeffrey's career was stagnating and Sal's rebel brilliance had dimmed. "He wasn't afraid in a way that terrified me," Jeffrey later admitted. Sal approached first, cocktail in hand, staring into Jeffrey's blue eyes with a sly, challenging half-smile. "They say you're Hollywood's sacred star, but I see something else in your eyes." That audacity both captivated and unsettled Jeffrey. Sal embodied the very candor Jeffrey secretly longed for, yet feared most. "Are you really that afraid of me?" Sal asked when Jeffrey hesitated. Jeffrey turned away, unable to face his dread, thoughts of family, career, the fragile shield of safety he'd constructed. "You're crazy, Sal," Jeffrey finally blurted. "I can't get involved with you." Their brief affair was intense but destructive. Jeffrey found himself drawn to and repulsed by Sal's fearless honesty about sexuality. While Jeffrey lived in terror of exposure, Sal seemed reckless in his openness, courting disaster. Years later, Sal became one of the first male actors to declare himself bisexual, career suicide at the time. Jeffrey reflected darkly. He didn't hide like the rest of us. He looked like someone destined to die young. The prophecy proved accurate. In 1976, Sal was stabbed to death at 37 outside his West Hollywood apartment, not by publicity spotlight, but by a brutal knife in the shadows, extinguishing a flame brave enough to burn honestly in an era built on lies. After Sal's murder, Jeffrey rarely spoke of him. The wound was too deep, too private. Only to close friends did he quietly confess. We could never have had a future. But in those brief nights, we had a reality no one else could understand. When secrets finally surface. In November 1968, Jeffrey Hunter arrived in Spain to film Cry Chicago, his final movie. During a carefully staged car explosion sequence with safety glass designed to burst outward, technical malfunction caused glass to explode inward instead, sending shards into his skull. Hunter completed filming despite serious neurological damage. On the flight home, wife Emily McLaughlin noticed alarming symptoms. He could barely speak, eyes vacant, sitting motionless as if paralyzed. "I no longer recognized the man beside me," Emily recalled. Los Angeles doctors found only concussion and displaced vertebrae, no apparent serious injuries. Hunter was discharged with rest instructions. No one realized it would be his last conscious hospital departure. On May 26, 1969, while descending stairs at his Van Nuys home, Hunter suddenly collapsed from massive brain hemorrhage, delayed complication from the Spanish explosion. The fall fractured his skull. Emergency surgery at Valley Presbyterian Hospital couldn't save him. On May 27, 1969, at 9:30 a.m., Jeffrey Hunter died at age 42. His death was quiet, sudden, devastatingly unexpected. But the most shocking discovery came weeks later. While Emily cleaned his study, she noticed loose floorboards near his desk. Beneath them lay a wooden box containing handwritten pages titled, "The Men I Didn't Dare to Love." The documents detailed Jeffrey's secret relationships with Hollywood's most powerful figures, names, dates, locations, intimate details of affairs hidden for decades. The revelations would have rocked Hollywood to its foundations if made public. Emily, horrified by potential consequences, destroyed most documents. But she kept fragments, enough to confirm the truth of Jeffrey's impossible double life and the unbearable burden he carried until death. Hunter's death wasn't just a personal tragedy, but a grim reminder of Hollywood's dangerous conditions and lethal pressure of maintaining impossible facades. He died as an invisible victim of an industry demanding perfection while systematically destroying those who pursued it. Jeffrey Hunter's secret list reveals more than forbidden relationships. It exposes the suffocating world that forced talented men to live lies that slowly killed their spirits. His handwritten confessions document not just desire, but the devastating cost of loving when authenticity meant career suicide. Each name represents human tragedy. Anthony Perkins, who chose ambition over love and died with secrets intact. Tab Hunter, who found courage to live truthfully only after Jeffrey was gone. Sal Mineo, who died young for refusing to hide. Rock Hudson, who offered comfort but couldn't heal wounds too deep for salvation. James Dean, whose flame burned too briefly to become real love. These weren't simply affairs. They were desperate attempts to find authentic connection in a system designed to prevent it. Hollywood's golden age was built on beautiful lies that destroyed beautiful people, forcing impossible choices between professional survival and emotional honesty. Jeffrey Hunter's tragedy wasn't just accidental death at 42. but that he never found a way to reconcile public image with private truth. He carried impossible secrets until they crushed him, living as both saint and sinner in a world demanding he choose only one identity. His hidden list serves as testimony to love stories never allowed to unfold, relationships forever in shadows, and men who paid the ultimate price for authenticity in an industry built on elaborate deceptions. Today, as Hollywood slowly embraces authentic representation, Jeffrey Hunter's story reminds us how far we've come and honors those who suffered in silence so future generations might love openly. Subscribe to explore more hidden stories from Hollywood's golden age, because sometimes the greatest love stories are the ones never allowed to be told.